So, given my previous introduction, to keep this video off, I'd like to design my filament housing. That's the filament I use. I like to design the housing to give you a better example of what you can be doing with Fusion or 3D design in general. To do that, I already took a couple measurements of the housing because what we are going to be doing is replicating the design. So, let's create a new sketch. And to do that, you can always follow my mouse where I click. Let's create a new sketch, and we want that sketch to be from the right side. I want to create a new sketch on this point of origin, this plane here. And this is what it is. It has diameter of 7.7, 7.6 actually. Now you can see my dialog box here showing a 7.6. Then we should also create an inner diameter of 3, or we can skip this inner diameter for now, and let's create the external design on it, which is this will be 0.4, 2 point. Let's extrude this. Let's make it as simple as possible. So let's extrude this. I'll click extrude. I want to extrude it to a thickness of 0.2. Say okay. And over here in the browser, I can see we've created a new body. And then let's draw on this same body. Let's say now see what I'll do here. I can use one of the secondary tools to modify, which is offset. I'd offset this circle, and watch, I can drag this top down anywhere, or I can give it a number on this dialog box here. So I'll do a negative 0.3, or let us do 0.4, negative 0.4, and we say okay. Now, while this, what offset does is, offset is more or less when you're doing parametric design, where you want a design to adjust alongside any other adjustments made to the primary design. So if I adjust this outer circle here from the previous drawing, if I adjust it, this offset will adjust with it. That's why I did not create another circle, so it will always adjust to this 0.4. And you can see we can get the diameter measurement by one of those things Fusion does that is good is you can click on a circle here, and it will give you the diameter fast over here. You can see it's creating the diameter fast here, or you can click on measure, click the circle, and then you get this diameter here and the radius here, which is 6.80. Meanwhile, our original circle was 7.6. So let's say okay, and let's project this one. Let us extrude. So we click on extrude, click on this profile, and let's extrude by 0.05. And we'll say okay. Now, to get in going, we want to draw some of the features on the body first. So we'll click here, draw again. You can see that let's go back. Before I'd make any drawing, if I click on draw a sketch, I have to click on a surface. So I can click on this surface here, and it will take that as this surface. It will take this as a plane where I can start to draw from. And you can also see that if I click on this plane, it will take this as a plane where I can draw from. The only thing it won't let you do is you can't click here and draw here as a plane because it's round. It doesn't know exactly what direction you want to draw in. So that won't work. If it was a square where each of the faces are different, you can select a face like this and it will work. But on this face here, it won't. So I can select on any of these faces and I want to draw here. So I'd say create sketch and let's create a sketch to, okay, let's just do this. Let's say I want this to be 1.2. Say okay, let's finish this sketch here and create another sketch here that will be same across, but let's do 0.8. Now with 3D design, there's something you need to know. There is, in creating all this sketch, there is no exact this is the way you must follow unless it is a complex design. Sometimes when you're making something from nothing, you have more options. I can create this line and begin my construction by creating all these lines. I can draw the same thing by making circles or squares and filleting them to give me a shape. And let's get to the shape first so you understand exactly what I'm talking about. And for this I want okay, let's use one of these tools here. Let's use this point tool and let's move along this edge. You can see as I move along, Fusion gives me this point here. This is a midway point. It tells you this is the center of that line you are. So I click a point there. I also add another point here. Now let's escape. We can do vertical, horizontal constraint. You can already see that there's an existing sign here showing a vertical horizontal constraint, but what that is telling you is that your sketch is 90 degrees or 0 degrees. It's straight. It's plane. It's not slanted either way. It's at a plane, and your plane is a level plane. So that's what is showing you, giving you that sign running along left to right. It's running horizontally, not vertical. Now if I click this center here and I click here, you'd see it would align it back to this center, and it gives me another symbol here telling me that this center point now is on the same point as this center vertex here. This center vertex marks it more or less like as at the center of our plane, and we can repeat the same thing here. See, now this is equal, but what's not equal is let's escape. You can click escape to escape any tool so you don't have to use it. And you should also be cautious when you're using your tools. You might have a tool there and then you forgot to go out of tool. If you click something, it would do something else. It doesn't give you what you want, and that's not good. So always make sure you've escaped any tool you used previously. And if you look at these things now, both of this item here, while they are in the middle, watch, they are movable. Why? Because they are not constrained to anything. They may be constrained, yes, vertically to the center points, but you can adjust them within the limits of that constraint. If you want to constrain them fully, what we can do is we can let's move this way over here. What we can do is we can give a dimension. So come to sketch dimension, click on this, click on the first line we want to dimension, and click on the second line we want to dimension that too. And let's say we want a total length of, I did not measure, I want a total length of, let's say 2. Let's say more or less a 1.8 or 1.7. Now, both of these things are now, they are both constrained to themselves. This is a dimension constraint. They are constrained to themselves. Now watch. If I move this one, the top moves along with it because they are locked together. I've dimensioned them. But they are still blue, not black. If you have a black line, they are fully constrained. If you have a blue line, they are not fully constrained. So why is that happening here? That's because it is just floating around. It doesn't have any point it should be constrained to. And for me to adjust for that, I can repeat a dimension. Let's go to dimension here, and let's say I want this top to be dimensioned to this line, and I want that to be let's say 2. See what that does. It pushes this line here away from the top by 2. If I adjust that to a 1 or a 0.4, see what that does. Pushes it down. Oh, sorry, I must have misclicked. It's dimensioning to this center, not that line. And why it happened like that is when at that moment where I clicked on this line here, what it did was it did not dimension from this line, it dimensioned from the center point, which is this center point here, because that's the center point of this diameter. So it's dimensioning from that point. That's why if I adjust, as I clicked on it, it's adjusting from the center rather than the external space outside. There is. So let's make this a 2.2. Let's see how that is. 2.2 is not that good. 3. 3. Let's make this 3.2. Oh no, I think I'll leave it back at 3. And then let's connect this both to this point and this to this point here, and let's assume this is what we want to do. We'll say okay, and then we'll finish our sketch. Now you can see my lines are fully constrained, so they are black. Watch, they can't move from this point. So we'll say I'll finish sketch. I want to click on this center. I want to extrude, so I'll click on the extrude feature, click on the profile I want to extrude. This here is a profile, this is a profile, this is a profile, but this is a sketch. While in the sense a profile, it's a sketch. So I'd click on that sketch and I'd extrude. Now, if you'd watch the introduction, I said around this extrude, I'd show you what this extend type does. Now, if I say all, look at what it does. It extrudes all. If I adjust the size, adjust the length, it will just extrude everything. And if there's any other body behind this here, if there's any other body behind it, it will extrude all the way to that body and extend it, as long as it is done with all the body within this line. That's what extrude all does. But mostly you'll be using, especially if you're having a parametric design, you'll be going with to object, because I want that extrusion to come to the back of this object here. And what that will do for me is, if I extrude this object any way I extrude it to any size, it will always maintain its distance back to this object. And I'll show you. Let us say okay, I want that to be a cut, and let us edit this. Let me edit this so you'd see. Let us say I made a mistake and I went back to adjust this extrusion I did at the beginning, and I said no, I want this to be 1, and I say okay. You can see that if I go back here, this cut still remains. And let me show you why that's not a trick. Let me go back. So let me go back so you see. And if I'd said, instead of this to object, if I said I want direction, and let us assume my direction is 0.2, you can see that if I do negative 0.2, it's extruded properly. Yes, it cuts properly. But if I had adjusted this one at the beginning and I said I needed 1 rather than a point, watch what happens. You can see that this now, it's blocked. It's not going all the way through because it's not calculating it parametrically. It's not saying I want to remain here, I want to be constrained to this face. So in order to adjust for that, let's go back. So you can see, yeah, you can see that where we use this to object is where we want that particular feature to always follow the measurement of a main body, regardless of any changes later in the future. You allow Fusion do the calculations for you. Let's say okay, and then let's fillet. Let's fillet this edge. Now look at where I clicked fillet. You can always come down here, and if you hover around fillet, it gives you a description, a short description of what that feature does. So we can click on fillet, and fillet allows us to do a couple of things. You can see there's a fillet based on rules. There's fillet where it goes all around, and then there's the regular fillet we use, which is the basic fillet, and that's what I'll be using here. So we can select most of this angle where I want to fillet, and yeah, here, and let me move out. Okay, let's fillet this to, let's see, okay, 40 is fine for me, so I'll click on OK. Now this is done. You can see it's not looking all that nice, but we are getting somewhere. Now what we'll do is let's mirror this feature we have here. I want to pattern it around because I need 4 of it, not 1. So we create circular pattern. Now that's back here where I said within the primary there's primary and secondary features. All these patterns, mirrors, thickness, all of these are secondary features. The primary ones you need are basically here. But we want to do a circle fillet. We click on it and we'll come over to this box here, and we'll say the dialog box that just popped out. We'll say we don't want a body, we want to pattern a feature. It will ask you what feature do you want to pattern. We'll go with, we want to pattern this feature right here. I want to pattern this feature right here, both. And then it asks us what axis do you want to pattern it. See that once I click on the axis, this point of origin comes out, because each of these points here, each of this mark here, each of this plane represents an axis. But what I want, since it's a circular pattern, is to pattern around this circle here. Now you can see it's already giving me an illustration of what those patterns will be, a placeholder of what those patterns will be, and I want 4, not 3. So I'll change it in this dialog box here, and I can say okay. Look at that, voila, I've gotten what I need. Now to move along this really quick, I want to draw. Now that thing I was telling you about, a point of origin, I want to draw on this surface. And if I go to draw, I can click on this surface and it will draw on this surface. Why? This is a flat surface where it can calculate any drawing you want to draw off on. So it's possible to draw within this surface. Now let's click on this circle, and let's say we want our internal to be, we said 3. We needed 3, not 2. The entire distance is 3, so I'll click on 3. And watch what I'll do. I can say, okay, this is what I want. I'll go back, and then I'll fillet this, make a fillet, and let's say I need that fillet to be a thickness of 2, so I'll do a 0.2. I'll say okay, and I'll say finish sketch. Now this is getting in the way, so I'd come back to this my drawing. To come back to a drawing, you can make it one of two ways. You can hover over it, left click, right click rather, right click and you edit sketch. That would work. Or you can double click it fast and that would also work. So now we'll come here and here is where we can make that adjustment. I want to make this adjustment rather than a 1.7, let's make it a 1.3. Let's see how that works out. Let's say okay, and you can see now I'm close to what it is. I'm very close. Yep, let's do that again and we'll adjust this. Rather than being 3, let's adjust it to be a 3.2 and let's say okay. Nice. So now what we'll do is come here, let's extrude. Let's click on extrude this, and let's remember, it's when you're making a practical design or you're making a mechanical design or something, you need to make adjustment to or compute an adjustment to later in future. It's always advisable that you use parametric design in terms of we'll get to that later in the future, where you can actually enter all the measurements you need and Fusion will do the calculations for you. But you have to think parametrically if you're making complex designs. And so we use our extent type. We use an extent type of to object, and we want to say we want it to this object, so it will cut that for us. Okay, and then we want to repeat an extrude, and we want to repeat that extrude with this sketch right here. We want this to sketch. Remember I said we had a 2.5 as our total measurement, as the total width of the object I'm making is 2.5. If I did not say it before, I apologize, I'm saying it now. And to do that, something else you need to know, Fusion can also do basic calculations, in fact more than basic calculations for you. So let's do something like this. We needed a 2.5, so we want this to be a 2.5, but what we are doing is 1/2 of it. The other half is not yet done. So we say this 2.5 we want to divide by 2. See what it does? It's giving us a 1.25. Now let's minus. We already did a 2.5, which is a 0.25 divided by minus 0.25 rather, and see what it's done. If we say okay, join, you can see that from, if I go from measure from this point to this point, what we get is a 1.25. So if you look at what we did here, we said we want the total length to be divided into 2. Then once we've gotten that division, we want to minus this thickness we did before, and Fusion will help us calculate that and give us what we want exactly. Now this is almost looking complete, so we'll turn off this sketch here, and then let's use another feature. One more feature we can use is a mirror. Let's use mirror. Now it asks you, what do you want to mirror? Look at this dialog box here. You can mirror a body, a face, a feature, a component. What we want to mirror is a body, which is this body right here. Now it asks you, what mirror plane do you want? Back to our point of origin, you can see that each of these planes serves an important purpose when you're designing. This serves very important purpose. Now if I click on this plane, it will try to do something here. It will try to create a copy of that over on this side, but that's not really going to work because it's a wrong input. So instead I want to cancel, and I said I want to say I will select, and I want that face to be off this instead. I'm going to say okay. Now look at what's happened. That are boxes done, and you can see if we measure from this edge to this edge, it's exactly 2.5, which means we are right on point, right on target. Either ways. Now, there's something else you need to know about mirroring. When you mirror, you did not really create a new separate design. Watch what will happen if I fillet this edge here, and I click on fillet, and I say I want to fillet by 0.02. Now look at this fillet here. Remember, I filleted one edge. If I say okay, and I flip this other edge, watch what's going to happen. You can see that if you zoom in, just filleted the wrong edge. Where am I to? Let's see. Let's see why that's not computing 0.02. Let's click on OK. It did not compute. I'd like to know why that did not compute, but either ways, sometimes when you do mirror, if you make any changes on one face, it mirrors on the other face. And I think we'll get back to that. Let me know why that did not work. But either ways, let's go back. And we've gotten to this point. What else are we supposed to do? Nothing. This is almost how my filament housing looks like. But something else is missing. We want to create something different. I want to create that here. Let's draw on this surface. And what we want to draw is a circle, which is the internal circle of that, and that internal circle is 2.2. Let's say okay. And then we want to offset one more time. I want to offset by negative 0.2. And negative 0.2 is really big. Negative 0.1. Yeah, let's go with this 0.1, and let's say okay. Let's click on this and let's extrude. Click on extrude. Click on the sketch profile you want to extrude, and let's come back to once again to object, and let's click here. Now see what it has done. And you look at this operation. Fusion is saying there is no join, there is no direct contact between this center circle and this outer circle here. So Fusion doesn't see any way you want to make a join. Even if I change this thing to a join, if I click on OK, it will create a new body for me. Watch, body 2. So why computer-aided design is good in general is because it can help you do these calculations like this, so you don't have to go mad. But then, see what it's giving you. This has to be a new body. There's no direct contact. If there is a direct contact, then you can maybe do join. There are other options here, such as cut, intersect, or new body. You get to use those later in the future. But let's leave it as a new body, and let's say okay. Now, I'd also want to make another sketch on this plane, and now what I want to do here is I want to project. There is a feature called project. There's regular project, and then I want to project this body and this body, and I look at this dialog box here. I want to project these two bodies, and I say okay. What project does is I can turn off these two body, and I'd have a projection of that face here. You can even extrude this face, it will work out fine for you. But I need this because I need to create something here. Let's just say, let's make this line here. And once again, I can always do constraint to this point, horizontal vertical constraint, and that would work. And then what I want to do next is, okay, let's create another line. And you can see that we can also mirror in this sketch environment. We can also mirror, so we can do dimension. We want this to be a point. How small do we want it? Point 1. And here, over here, you can see a mirror. We can mirror an object, and we'll select the mirror line to be this. We click on OK. Now see, it is done. If I adjust this, that would adjust. If I say it's a 0.2, this will adjust likewise. So we want to leave it at this, and we want to turn this center line here. We want to make it a construction line, so it doesn't get in the way of our design. So let's say this is all we want to do, and I want to once again extrude, and I want to extrude this profile. Now here's where you have to be careful. If you extrude this profile and you just extrude down or up, watch what it will do. It will give you a new body. Why? Sometimes when we design, we forget things as we're going, so it's always good to look around. If you notice, of course, when you start doing things using it for your own project, you notice all these changes. But if you look at this box here, it is new body. But once I make this one, once I turn it visible back on, you can see it's showing me a join, because there's a direct contact between both bodies, and that's what I want. I want it to be a joint. And I can also make extend type to be to objects once again, like we've done previously. And if we say okay, this is what it has done, joined it for us. Also, I want to make a fillet here, which is, I'll click on one, hold down control and click on the other one. That will work. If you can zoom in close enough to avoid contact with this without clicking control, it will still work. So let's make this 10. 10 will be good. Yes, 10 will be good. And I can come down to this fillet in here and click add a new selection set. This here, add selection set, and I want to extrude this set here to, you can see if I zoom in close without holding this, I can select this one here. Let's see, nice. And we want to make that also a 0.1, and we can say okay. Now previously when when I started earlier on, I have to do fillets, then come back to fillet, make another fillet here, make another fillet. But once again, you get to know more the more projects you do. And then we can repeat our pattern, and once again it remembers the previous pattern we did was feature. I want to select this feature and this feature here, and we want this axis to be this. Now you can also see that it held the memory of our previous number, which was at 4, and it held the memory at 4. So I'd say okay, and voila, this right here is done. So every other thing you need to do will be minor adjustments where you need to adjust for tiny marks and tiny designs. But overall, this is, if I click on this button here, remember, anytime you've missed your orientation and you don't really know where you started from, you come across that eventually, you can always come up to this cube right here and click on this home, and it reorients you back to the original orientation, or the yeah, the original orientation. And yeah, here you go. So these are some of all those things that you can do actually with Fusion. You can Fusion is good, and sometimes you hear people say 3D. It's something that it's actually good for everyone to have, because you might need a pair of you might need your own customized items, tools, and if you can design it, that's sweet. You just design and send it to a manufacturer where they will manufacture that for you. So that will conclude today's video on this. Just like I said, this will be a continuing series where we'll have to do things further down the line. So hopefully, the more we go, the better I am at making this video, and the better you be in understanding them. So thank you very much.